Yeah, I mean, I think with the Facebook groups in particular, I mean, they have scored an own goal, and that's what they're doing. I mean, if you're just saying Universal is coming to Bedfordshire, get a free valuation, you know, going back to what we just spoke about just then, it's not Universal going to Bedfordshire all of a sudden is not going to change your house price. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton, and this week I'm joined only by James Kendall. Ian, where is Ian this week, JK?
Well, he got a nosebleed because he hadn't been on holiday for 3 weeks.
Oh, right. It's Barcelona, isn't it, this time?
Yeah, Barcelona.
What is he even doing this time? It's just...
I don't know. I think there was an alert that went off on his phone or something and just said you hadn't been on holiday for 3 weeks. You need to go abroad immediately. So,
yeah. I know that I think he mentioned that Aidan had a week off and then Phil was off, so that must have hurt him.
Yeah.
So he's been back to the wall sort of thing for the last few weeks, so I'm sure he deserves his break, whatever he's doing. Anyway, let's start as we always do. JK, how has your week been?
Interesting week. Again, more in photography. At the moment, I think we've got about 220 grand's worth of stock in photography that we're trying to get on the market, which is presenting its own challenge at the moment. We've had a bit of a light month on sales. I think you said before we pressed record, the market feels like it is in a bit of a transitional period. Obviously, we had a rate cut. It's. I think the thing is, we've become so accustomed to. And when I say we, I mean like our office. It's so accustomed to doing a 6-figure gross sales month every month.
Yeah.
That when and what I think what's happened is we had a little bit of a lull with instructions for about 6 weeks, where we had like maybe 3 or 4 coming on, whereas we would normally list like double figures. And I think that's hurt us. And some of the stock that we've got on. Sellers aren't necessarily as motivated as other ones that we've had. They aren't in tune with the market. We've had a couple of unlucky hits really where we got very close to wrapping up a couple of deals that would have easily put us nearer 6 figures for the month, but unfortunately it hasn't happened. But all you can do is keep going and keep following the process and trust that the proceeds will come. And we've got, I say, well over 200k in photography at the moment that we're going to launch. We've got one that we have just launched actually last week at 1.25. We've got 6 viewings on in the next couple of days, all proceedable. So you'd like to think that we should hopefully be in a position by next week where we've got that one under offer. We launched another one on social at 1.25. That's gone down really well. Had a couple of inquiries on that, got a couple of viewings off the back of that. We've got some really, really good stuff coming on, and it will be stuff that generates other listings as well. 10,000 market updates have also just gone out. So, I think, we're too consistent to fail is what I would say at the moment. We're, with what we're doing, it's the only thing it can be is any external force. We're doing everything we can internally to make sure that we succeed, and it is what it is. They say you become accustomed to doing 6-figure months. So we're, in fairness, we were probably due a month where we weren't as strong. We've done a farmhouse at 1.75. We've done a little character property as well. So, it is what it is. The thing is, we've had this before. It's the 15th of the month. And then by the 28th, everything's just fallen into place. And then next thing you know, you're back where you were. So, I think as long as you commit to the consistency and keep doing the things that you need to do, ultimately it will drop in. And because, again, we've had loads of vowels. Like we're constantly getting called out to stuff, we're putting it in, and those times where we've been busy, 30, 60, 90 days ago, we've committed to that consistency and getting letters out, making sure we're doing all the things right. So, we're filling the top of the funnel, and it's just going to be inevitably a case of, maybe a couple of price realignments here and there, waiting for some new stock to drop in, and the rest will sort itself out. So, That's my life story for the week. How is yours?
Yeah, good, mate. I mean, look, so we are probably suffering some of the same challenges you are, but we are busier at the moment. So I know that we've been speaking about this off pod and stuff like that. And for you, obviously, it's a blip. It's a month that all estate agents have. I was just sort of saying to you when it's a private group and stuff as well. When you and Ian were absolutely killing it. I was actually suffering a little bit in a couple of areas in terms of instruction, not so much instruction levels in sales and exchanges, but now we're really catching up now. It's been, again, something that you've just resonated with, with there, JK. And what I really like about your sort of attitude towards it, it's an inevitability, isn't it? You consistently do the same things as long as you don't stop the marketing. You've never turned off the marketing funnel when you went busy. That's the best thing I can probably say to anybody listening. I know because I speak to you and Ian every day. You've never stopped marketing, even when you were incredibly busy. And we were the same. It's just a case of that old cliche, trust the process. We never switch that off. We keep doing the socials every day. We commit to the letters, regardless of what we do. It doesn't matter. Those are our two biggest sort of sources of valuation and lead generation tactics. So we know it works. We commit to it. And as I say, we've had a great start to the year. The first quarter was really great. We're very, very happy with it. And moving into sort of April and May, it's been no different. My challenge, if I'm honest, JK, is getting people in.
Yeah.
I'm sort of 2 and 3 weeks in the future getting valuations and take-ons in. It's a nice place to be in a way because you become that attraction agent for the market section that you're in, and people are prepared to wait. But I'm seeing valuations get booked in, and I'm sort of like wincing a little bit, going, "Oof, we can't see them till June."
Yeah.
But a little bit of that is them and our diaries as well. But on from a results front, I think we've got 9 sales at the moment on the mid-range brand. I'm negging as well. Let's have a look. Some really good stuff on the higher end stuff. So we've got one. I just tied one up last night at 920. We've got another one just under $1 million. Nice farmhouse. You'll be proud of me, Ian. There, if you're listening. We've got a beautiful, beautiful home that's on at 1.75 million. I've got an acceptable offer on that as well this week, which is nice. And at 10 o'clock this morning, when we get off this pod, I am 99% confident I'll be tying up a £1.2 million deal as well.
Nice.
So some really good stuff. And that, to be honest with you, that's just the ones that I'm sort of those are ready kind of thing. Those are going to get accepted, and we're going to negotiate, I think, to an acceptable level. In the background, I'm just looking here at the stats here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's another 9 offers there.
Wow.
One way or another. And my other challenge, which is a nice challenge to have, is what we've got in photography. There's quite a lot in photography. We're at a beautiful house today for a take on. But yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in photography. So it's a busy time of year, and it's exciting. But one thing that won't stop is lead gen and the consistency with our promotion and stuff like that. So yeah, all good. Thanks, JK. But some similar challenges. I've also had some tough conversations this week with a couple of clients that have got on the market that maybe haven't had as much activity. And now starting thinking, what have we got to do to get this thing sold? And ultimately, we all know it comes down 99 times out of 10. 99 times out of 10.
99 times out of 10, that's impressive.
99 times out of 100, it's a pricing issue, and it's just having the skill really to get people thinking differently. We've got a chain as well. It's at risk, it's worth a lot of money to us. And I was on the phone with the homeowner there, offering different solutions to her potential problem that she'd maybe not thought about. So, it's just putting in the hard yards and having the conversations. And, if you if you know that there's nothing more that you can be doing and you're doing everything that you possibly can to get that property sold and it's marketed in all the right areas, then if you know in your heart of hearts that it is just a number, then that's what you need to be telling your client.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, we're just going through the stock at the moment where the market is just proving to be so price sensitive at the moment. And if you don't get it right, you get it really wrong. And we've nailed the pricing for the one that we listed at 1.25. Like, it's funny, isn't it? The buyers are there if the price is right. And some of the other stuff that we've got where I've said to clients, look, because the thing is, when it's a bit more unique, because we don't sell, Joe Blogs is 3-bed semi. Don't get me wrong, we have done, and we will list a 3-bed semi if it's the right fit. But, in general, some of the more challenging stock can be unique homes where they're, a one-off, and you look at pound per square foot and you look at its individual qualities and what it offers. And if you've got a place like with 2 acres, like I've got a place at the moment with 2 acres, barns, like commercial opportunities, like there's so many different things that what is it worth? Is it worth 900? Is it worth 1.1? Do you go offers over $1 million? That's what we've done, and the market is a lot slimmer for a house like that because it's somebody that really wants the business opportunity, and is it a pricing issue or is it a buyer issue? Because it is quite a niche proposition. You wouldn't get somebody, your average family of 4 that wants to move to the area for the private schools saying, I'm going to buy that, because it just doesn't have the accommodation. However, somebody that is a business owner operator that wants to bring their business into their home, like, happy days. But also equally, the house doesn't quite match up. So, it's challenging conversations. But again, all you can do is commit to updating people weekly and saying, look, this is what's going on. The market, unfortunately, isn't reacting to the price we're on at. It's been marketed on the right places. We've even tried to do more than, I think anyone would do in terms of trying to put like a Universal Studios spin on it. Could it be a great investment for that? Could you convert, go for commercial to resi, and get planning permission on the barns, and maybe try and convert the barns into Airbnbs, because it'd be great for access to Universal Studio. There's just so many different things that we're trying to, and they can see that we're actively trying to market it.
Just on that, JK, as well. Sorry, it's a really important point you're making without probably making it in a way, but it's what you're doing is adding context and a supporting, not so much argument, but you're supporting evidence as to why and what and da da da. So from a marketing point of view, the Universal thing for you will be huge, I would imagine. We had, where I am 15 years ago, I remember Media City was coming, and the BBC were there. ITV were going into it. There was talk of Channel 4 switching their offices and things like that. And it's become, at the time, we were getting phone calls in my old corporate job saying, oh, as Media City added loads of value. And at that point, it had only been announced and was being built, or it was in the process of being built and or fully being developed. And, you're kind of like, not yet. It's going to take time. But if you're investing in that area, it's a brilliant time to get in. And as it happens, as that's played out over the last sort of 15 years in particular, that has brought a lot of business, and it's brought a lot of house price growth to there and the surrounding areas like Manchester, Salford. It's just been ridiculous, and that has really pushed other house prices up in the vicinity. So you've got to give an educated opinion as to why that might happen. At that point in time, no, just the announcement of it is not necessarily going to just all of a sudden put a huge house price spike on it. And that's what a lot of your local residents will be thinking in Bedfordshire. They'll be thinking, Universal, great, another 10% of my house price right now. It's not the case. People have got to get their heads around it, look at the infrastructure. It's when it starts to develop, and because of Universal, the areas around it will start to develop, and all of a sudden you'll see a brand new Marks and Spencer pop up, or
it's a bit like Bitcoin. Like, the people that got in there early and, bought Bitcoin at $5,000. And then all of a sudden, when it was starting to spike and it was at 60, 70 grand in the news, then everyone was like, "Oh, I need to buy Bitcoin, and it'll be the same in this area here in 5 years' time when the houses, when the theme parks, nearing being built. People will go, "Oh, we need to buy one for Airbnb. We need to buy one for Airbnb," and that's when the prices really will shoot up. So the smart investors, and I had a chat with somebody the other day because I think I put myself out there into the universe on LinkedIn, on Facebook, etc. And I got chatting to somebody the other day who's advising a £50 million fund, and they said, "Oh, where would you invest?" And I said, "Well, look, looking at Bedford and Universal Studios, I think there's a great opportunity there if you were to buy something now." So we had a brief chat without saying too much on air. We had a brief chat, and they're going to chat to the fund and say, "Look, this is the opportunity. This is who I've spoken to." And they, we're early stages of potentially getting involved with this fund to buy homes and rent them out in the local area, which again could be quite lucrative, especially if there's a lettings company coming up soon. Like that could work quite well, couldn't it?
You are right. I mean, like I say, it won't happen overnight, and it's just about keeping people informed, being the go-to guy. And I remember from a few pods ago, you were talking about how you'd set up a bit of an email chain, for people to subscribe and keep an eye on that. And genius, it's obvious, but genius because no one else does these things.
We've got to implement it though. Like so, just in context of this is that I've set that up, and then another agent, one of my competitors, has seen it, and what they're doing is they're running Facebook ads saying Universal Studios is coming to Bedford, just been announced. Book your free no obligation valuation now. But what's funny is, and again, it's all about the execution. They're absolutely being hammered because when you do Facebook ads,
yes,
like you get Roy from I don't know wherever going, "I don't think it should be here because it's going to do this to the properties and the infrastructure, and everyone's going to die." But they've had that and like angry face reactions on there, and I just think it's a massive own goal they've scored because they've got it so wrong. Because in my opinion, Facebook isn't the audience. Like LinkedIn is the audience, but also that's actually no. I'm going to contradict myself here. Facebook is the audience in the right context. Running Facebook ads for the sake of running Facebook ads in that context is not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Facebook groups in particular, I mean, they have scored an own goal. That's what they're doing. I mean, if you're just saying Universal is coming to Bedfordshire, get a free valuation. Going back to what we just spoke about just then, it's not Universal going to Bedfordshire all of a sudden is not going to change your house price.
No,
like right now, it's going to take a bit of time. So what needs to happen is what you are doing right now. With when you're sending out your letters, there needs to probably be a spin on it pretty much every quarter or whatever you talk about in the market. Just updating them. We're not seeing it just yet. We will. And then maybe a reference to other areas. Like I've just mentioned their Media City. It was at least a decade, I would say, before it really started to take effect.
Yeah.
And I remember having conversations with people back in the day, particularly the ones that were quite wealthy and wondering where to put the money, or even people who had come into money where people have sadly passed away and they've got investments to make. Where do we put it? We used to have conversations when somebody had been left me down around our way, maybe 100 grand at that point, and said, "Yeah, I'm going to go and buy a terraced house." And you were saying, "Well, why don't you buy 4 terraced houses?"
Yeah.
And they said, "What do you mean 4 terraced houses?" Well, you could get a mortgage for 4 deposits, 4 mortgages. You'll have 4 growing assets and loads of residual income. And oh my God, they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Media City. I used to say, if you've got money now, my honest opinion would be buy something, sit and wait and watch what happens. Rent it out. Sure, you might not be making a lot, but if you're thinking about pension pots over the next 15, 20 years, I think that would be a great investment for you. And I honestly believe that will be the case with Bedfordshire. I cannot see Universal flopping or anything like that. I know that people always have ambitions of going to Florida and obviously Euro. But for those that perhaps can't afford to do that, if you've got 2 or 3 kids, and I'm not suggesting that Universal in Bedfordshire is going to be cheap, because it bloody won't be. You'll be paying £6 a Coke. You're going to be. It's going to be a much better option for a lot of people. It will definitely bring definitely bring big brands into the area, and it will uplift on your price. So the basically what the message right now should be: Universal is coming to Bedfordshire. What could this mean for house prices? What have we seen in other areas where they have been impacted by huge investment like this? And I would say to you, JK, take a look at Media City in Manchester. Because
we've done it actually. We did some data analysis. Me and Gatesy sat down and did some data analysis, and we looked at things more close to home, because we had Centre Parks up the road recently as well. What impact did that have immediately on prices? Things like Alton Towers. There was a few other bits like Network Rail in Milton Keynes. Like there's a few different things to contextualise what it actually looks like. But ultimately, prices will grow. What is interesting, the dynamic will change, in my opinion, in this area in the next 10 years. The people that live here and the areas, Marston, Stewerby, Kempston, Hardwick, Houghton, Conquest, I think they will become a lot more commercialised. And I think there will be a lot of people that, cash in, sell up and move away to kind of get away from the commercialisation, if that's such a word. And I think they will become much more of a, not ghost town, but much more less community led. Yeah. Which will be an interesting dynamic for how the schooling is going to work in the area and the knock on effect it's going to have on amenities and services like that. But yeah, I mean, who knows? We're six years away from it actually being completed.
Another thing, isn't it? There, like I said, going back to that point about Facebook, there's a couple of things here that I think people can take away and don't think that we're just talking about Universal Studios in Bedfordshire. I mean, it doesn't affect me at all. I'm not from that area. As somebody who likes to invest and buy houses occasionally, it's definitely something that I would look at for sure, and getting in early now. But this is not just about Universal Studios, and it's not about Media City and what have you. It's what happens when those sorts of announcements are made. And these happen all over the country in all different areas, and it might be something very small. It might be that, we've got an area near us, Prestwich, and they had a Rudy's Pizza move into the high street. Rudy's a big chain pizza. And they've also had a Gale's Bakery move in. There's a Marks and Spencer's food court there. And all of these things bring a different type of person to that area, whether you like it or you loathe it. It starts to put upward pressure on prices. It's just a fact. And that's what you should be reporting. Any negative comments to that on social media is irrelevant, really. There was an instance not so long back where a lady had said on one of our posts about this is the house that was on the market at whatever price it was on at, and somebody had just said this is house prices are absolutely ridiculous. First time buyers have not got a chance. There is a big problem and it was on the post, and it was almost like a rant. So rather than sort of try and justify anything and defend the property, the response was, there probably is. There is a problem. You're right. There is a problem for first time buyers in this country. What would you suggest? And she just didn't say anything.
It's really hard for people to get on the ladder these days.
Yeah. There was another guy not so long back as well. He's laughing at a price. Funnily enough, that we put a house on this social media group that's got like 20,000 members, so it always gets a lot of very, very good and positive comments. But obviously, you're going to get a lot of the negativity, which it's water off a duck's back now to me. But I don't care. But this guy in particular was saying, "Oh my God, what an absolute joke! This is massively overpriced." And I think it was one of the mid-range brand ones. And it was on at 350,000. I'd already got an offer on it at 342, so I knew it was under offer. And this guy was saying, "What an absolute joke! Estate agents are ruining this country for property prices. This is worth about £270,000, something like that." So I'd responded to him to say, "You're right. It would be worth £270,000 if it was 2012."
Yeah.
And then I sort of went into price per square foot, what's actually happening in the area. And then I've spoken about how prices are affected, talking about interest rates, the banks lending. And the reality is, if banks are lending money and buyers want to buy, they will buy. It's nothing to do with the estate agents. We would still be operating if house prices were 50% less than they are today.
Yeah.
You put that across to him. What does he do? Goes quiet.
Yeah.
And then it starts a debate with other people, and it's good engagement. But I suppose what I'm saying is this is not a Universal Studios podcast or a Media City podcast. It's about finding what's going on in your area, really. What is happening in your area that could potentially positively or negatively impact property prices, or negatively impact the area at all. We've got some really nice green spaces in Bury. There's one in particular where we operate, and there's a 300 house development going up on this beautiful green space that is absolutely infuriating a lot of the locals. And you daren't talk about it if you're an estate agent, because they just think you sniff blood and you want money. But the reality is you want green spaces, because green spaces bring up house values, keeping them more rural.
Yeah.
So more houses go up. There's more houses for sale. There's the 10 a penny. It can actually sometimes negatively impact an area. So it brings more traffic to the area and all that sort of stuff. We feel it exactly the same, and there's no problem having an opinion in that way just because you're an estate agent. I don't want to see 300 houses go up on a beautiful green space on what was green belt land. I don't want to see that, to be honest with you. But it's happening, so we deal with it. And you talk about the negatives. Yes, of course, it's going to take away the green space. Yes, there's going to be more traffic. But what infrastructure is it going to bring? What else are they doing? Is there going to be a new school? Is there going to be new nurseries? Is it going to bring more job opportunities to the area? I don't know. Anything that you think might impact property prices, have an opinion. Give it. And,
that's the thing on Facebook. I know you preach it as well, is having an opinion on Facebook. It's free. And what you'll do is you'll lose 80% of the idiots that are like, wow, the house prices are, the uneducated people that just listen to one opinion or hold an opinion from Dave from the pub. Sorry, Dave, that's your name. But like Dave from the pub, Dave from the pub said, well, people can't get on the ladder these days. And, it's hard for first time buyers. And, that the amount of times I hear that, it's hard for, don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but what nothing worth doing is easy, is it? No.
Do you know what? I spoke to a client yesterday. He's on the market with another agent in an area that I cover, and his marketing's not great. So I'd sort of gone through that. The first thing I said to him, he rang me. First of all, he rang in and he wanted to speak to us because he'd seen us on social media and stuff. Likes what we do. And the first thing I said to him, he said, let's take the price off your advert for a moment. Let's pretend that you've not got a price on your advert, and let's look at how you marketed. I said, and we went through a checklist and found probably 6 or 7 things that were wrong with his listing. And we said, we can definitely make improvements there. But we also need to come back and look at your price point. And we looked at his price point, and it was on a bad price point for the portals. I said, you haven't got video and all that sort of stuff, but came back to the price point and said, it's wrong for the portals. I did a quick look around and said, look, this is where you sit at your current price point with other things. And it's clear that there are other better value homes out there at the moment. It doesn't matter how nice your house is. There's a ceiling price over there. And then he asked me what the market's like, and I went through the market conditions as we usually do. And at the end of it, he just said, thank you so much. I said, I'm on a 2-week notice period with my agent, so I have actually got a couple of viewings booked in this week. If it doesn't sell, I am 100% coming over to you. I have never been told in 9 months of being on the market any of that information. I've never had any honest opinion, any feedback like that. I've not been told about the market conditions, and more importantly, what is currently affecting the market. So what was really enlightening to him was my piece on cost of acquisition, and that's what's changed in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So obviously explaining to him that if you look at a graph for most areas, certainly where we are, it's like a roller coaster. So from 2020, it goes steep. It's like you're going up ready for the big drop.
Yeah.
And then it drops at the end of 2022 because that's when interest rates started to go up, 14 of them in a row. And he was like, well, all right, yeah. And then all of a sudden people become accustomed to it and realize things are not going to change, but then the interest rates stop and hold, and we started to see a rise again. Then they dropped off a little bit. And now if we look at the prices between sort of 2021, late 2021 to now, they're very similar. And I always say to people, put an imaginary line right down the middle between 2022 and 23 and 25. So put a line right down the middle, and you might look at it and go, well, the house price is the same, so I can ask the same. But it's the cost of acquisition. So if you are buying that house 3 or 4 years ago on a fixed rate, 5-year fixed rate deal, it's going to be a 1.84, 1.85% mortgage. Now it's more like 4.5%. So it's costing me 2 to 3 times more to buy your house, even though the price is the same. Or throw into the mixer that school fees have gone up.
20%
Throw into
VAT.
the mixer, VAT, national. I'm a business owner. National insurance has just gone up. Throw into the mix that the cost at the till when you go to Tesco has gone up. Throw into the mix that council tax has gone up, and everything's gone up.
Yeah,
and it's a challenging period for everybody right now. One thing remains: people need to move, and that will never change. It doesn't no matter what market you're in. But that little piece giving context as to why the market is struggling a little bit in certain areas and at certain price points, it was a real light bulb moment for him, shall we say. And he said, right, I just get it. I get it now. And I think had that been relayed to him by the current agent, we wouldn't have been having that conversation yesterday. And that's the key. So I don't know. The message for me is just, again, we say it all the time, but you've just got to implement. That's why we're so consistent about talking about these things. You've got to keep adding value to your market. I think you need to niche in a certain market as well, JK. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I think niching in a certain market rather than trying to appeal to everybody is a big mistake. Trying to appeal to everybody would be a big mistake. Niching to the market that you want to attract is key. So your style of writing, your style of post, your style of your presentation, etc. I think that's extremely important. But it's I think it's got to be a year of peaks and troughs. We again, the base rate of interest came down last week. We've not even touched on that, but the base rate of interest came down last week, which is great news on the face of it. But the absolute reality of the situation is what swap rates were at 3.5%. The banks have factored this in months ago. They knew it was coming, and they're already offering reasonable rates at the banks themselves. So it's not had a massive impact. So what was everybody telling people last week? Probably headline rate interest rates have come down. Yeah, for evaluation.
No context whatsoever.
Yeah, whereas interest rates have come down, but actually, what does that mean? Well, have you spoken about swap rates? Have you spoken about the fact that most banks have already factored this in? Like the Nationwide had already got a 3.8% deal for a 40% loan to value product. Sorry, 60% loan to value product. That was already out there, and it's been out there for weeks. So, do your audience know that? Is my point. Do you have a relationship with a local mortgage advisor that you can speak to and find out what their best deals are every week? It's just little things like that. If you're not up to date with that sort of stuff, then that's something you can do and just promote and talk about what is happening in the marketplace consistently. Just give, and then eventually it will come back in spades.
And that's exactly what we do with the letters, isn't it? As well, we give the market updates to people, and then it's an educational piece. It's not a leaflet with a free no obligation valuation. Here's what's going on in the market. Here's what you need to know, and then when the times comes for them to make their decision, then you're the natural port of call. I think it's probably a good place to leave it for this week.
Indeed,
I know you've got a call to make, a deal to do, so
yes.
We've got a busy day ahead as well. I think we've averaged booking 2 valuations a day so far, which is pretty good, and that's only going to improve now that say 10,000 market updates have gone out. So. Busy day ahead. Well, look, it's been a good one. Hope some people have taken value, and look forward to catching up next week.
Love it. Thanks for listening, guys.